Have you ever felt like your life was on this perfect, totally predictable path, only to have the whole thing just completely derailed? Well, today we're going to dive into two really powerful stories about what happens when life hits pause and how you find the strength to press play again, often on a track you never, ever expected.
So, let me just ask you that straight up. What happens when your life goes completely off script? I mean, when the future you've been planning for just vanishes in an instant. It's a pretty terrifying thought, right? But it's a reality a lot of us face. So, let's get into how two people navigated that very question.
All right, first up, let's talk about life's unexpected plot twists. We're going to meet Kyle and Grace, two young people who really thought they had their futures all mapped out, written like a perfect movie script.
So let's paint a picture of their worlds. For Kyle, life was basketball. It was his first love, his passion, his entire identity was wrapped up in it. He was the team captain, he poured everything he had into that game. And then you have Grace, who saw life as this movie that she believed only had one button, play. No rewind, no fast forward, and definitely no pause. Just constant forward motion always.
But for both of them, that constant forward motion came to a sudden, really jarring halt. This next part is all about that moment when everything changes, when your world just stops.
So the triggers were totally different, but the effect was pretty much the same. For Kyle, it was a brutal physical collision on the basketball court. He went up for a shot, collided with an opponent, and fell. And it's a little graphic, but his kneecap was completely dislocated, just out of its place. For Grace, the collision was global. On March 15, 2020, the Philippine government announced a massive lockdown. Her world, which she thought could never be paused, suddenly just slowed to a crawl.
And for Kyle, the journey downward was long. This was not a quick recovery. We're talking 3 months where he couldn't even walk right, followed by a 1.5 years of rehab. He called this the lowest point of his life, a time filled with depression, a total loss of passion for anything. He was just stuck, constantly asking himself, why me?
Now, Grace's experience was this strange paradox. The outside world slowed down, right? But her personal world sped up into a total blur. The sudden shift to online learning was jarring and really isolating. As she puts it, from the normal phase of my life, it suddenly became fast-paced. I couldn't even keep up. She was just overwhelmed, totally scared, and felt like she was losing the one thing she thought she always had, that forward momentum.
So, how do you come back from that? How do you find your footing when the ground has literally shifted from under you? This next section is all about that, finding a new path, that slow, difficult journey back from the absolute lowest point.
For Kyle, the bounce back really came down to 3 crucial steps. First, and this is probably the hardest one, was acceptance. He had to let go of the idea of ever going back to basketball. Second, he made a conscious choice to shift his focus away from what he'd lost and toward other parts of his life he could actually improve. And finally, he started embracing totally new opportunities, joining clubs, discovering he had a talent for making music, and even getting into public speaking.
Okay, let's jump back to Grace's fantastic metaphor, life's remote control. Now remember, she was absolutely convinced it only had a play button. And this wasn't just a casual thought. This was a core belief she lived by. It meant she had to constantly move forward, push through being tired, because she honestly didn't think there was any other choice.
But then, she had this breakthrough. She discovered a new button she never knew was there, the playback speed button. And this was a huge realization for her. She did have control. She could choose to slow things down when life got overwhelming. She didn't just have to keep up. She could actually set her own pace.
And this really brings us to the core idea of this whole explainer. Setbacks are so often a blessing in disguise. It's about discovering these hidden gifts that are only revealed to us when we go through our greatest challenges. And here it is, straight from Kyle himself. He realized that without that injury, he might still be stuck, chasing something that maybe wasn't even meant for him. The very thing that broke him was also the thing that broke him free. It allowed him to discover gifts and opportunities he was completely ignoring before. And we're not talking about some vague, fuzzy feelings. No, the things he gained were concrete, real skills, and a whole new direction. He found a passion for music. He became a public speaker, sharing this exact story. And most importantly, he found a path that was truly his own, not one that was just defined by a single sport.
Grace's blessing was discovering her own power, her own agency. Her message is so empowering. We all have this remote control. We all have that playback speed button. It's a tool just waiting for us to use when the world feels like it's spinning too fast. It's a reminder that we have the power to slow down, to rest, and to avoid burning out.
Okay, so how do we take these really powerful personal stories and apply them to our own lives? Let's try and boil down the key lessons into frameworks that we can all actually use.
So if you boil it all down, what we have are two incredible metaphors for resilience. Kyle's story teaches us that what feels like a dead end can actually be a blessing in disguise, something that opens up totally new doors. And Grace's framework gives us the playback speed button, a powerful reminder that we have control when things feel overwhelming. Both are about finding opportunity and power in the middle of a crisis.
And this, right here, is the big idea that ties it all together. It's a quote from Kyle's speech, and it's so profound. It's the belief that we are made for greater things, and that our struggles aren't just random, meaningless pain. They're part of a transformation, shaping us into who we're meant to become. Everything really does happen for a reason.
So I'll leave you with this final thought to chew on. As you reflect on your own challenges, your own moments when life hit pause or went completely off script, just ask yourself this: what blessing might my current struggle be hiding? What new path is it trying to show me?